All right, this is Off the Edge, episode 35. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, joined here by my awesome co-host Cameron Lynch. And today we are previewing the AFC North. But before we get into that, few things. First off, if you like the show and you haven't already, be sure to subscribe on our YouTube channel if you're watching, or whatever channel you're watching this on. If you're listening to it in audio format, be sure to subscribe there. Also hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube, and go tell somebody, because word of mouth is everything. If you like this show and your buddy who you go to the bar with to watch the games throughout NFL Sundays, you know, just let him know. Just be like, hey, you know what? Off the Edge is pretty cool. Jake and Cam, check them out. Never know what'll happen. So, Cam, we got a chance to actually hang out last week, like in person, which was really cool. So I'm glad, you got home safely and everything, with the flight and everything. So that's great. And, obviously, because you're here. But we had some developments. I mean, right before we went live, Zeke Elliott decides to sign with the Patriots, which is kind of crazy. I like the move, honestly. Especially for Zeke, who's 28 years old, trying to get himself back on that radar. And then, just everything that happened with preseason. I mean, you had all the rookies. We saw Stetson Bennett with the Rams look pretty good. Our guy, we both like him, Aiden O'Connell. I thought he looked really good with the Raiders. There were some other guys that stood out as well. But, as far as that goes for the quarterbacks concerned, I was really impressed with, Stetson, Aiden O'Connell. And I thought you saw some good things, out of other quarterbacks as well. Flashes here and there, like a Clayton Tune. I liked former Buccaneer Tyler Johnson. I thought looked good, linking up with Stetson Bennett. These are guys fighting for a spot. We talked about it, off air, I believe. But looking at the Texans, C.J. Stroud didn't have his best game, and that's okay. It was his rookie performance, his rookie debut. But Tank Dell did, and that's been your guy.
Yep. Tank Dell balling out. That back shoulder catch that he had 2 feet in bounds.
That was crazy.
Making highlights already, man. It's really cool to see. You talked about Aiden O'Connell, Jake. I'll just pause there, right? We went through the offseason, Jake. We talked about our guys before the draft, research, studying, and we talked about Aiden O'Connell. We talked about the Raiders, Jake, recently. Hey, he's going to have to step up. He's your rookie quarterback. We'll see how he does. Man, this dude is the offensive player of the preseason one, of the whole entire NFL. Jake, my man looked sharp, Jake. He was making all of his throws. It looked on time. I think he was I forget his numbers. It was kind of crazy. But, 15 for 18, Jake, 141 yards. And now caveat, this is the preseason. So this is not going to say, hey, this team's going to run this offense throughout the year. It's not saying that. But as a guy who's undrafted, it's extremely important for people like me. And it's also important for quarterbacks as well, especially if you're in a quarterback battle. So I do want to go to the Jameis Winston piece. I know in the Saints fans, they didn't really like how we talked about their ranking when in the NFC South. That's okay. I'm just throwing a little shade because I play for the Buccaneers. But watching the game this weekend, Jakes, for the Saints fans out there, y'all are looking good on offense. Y'all are moving the football efficiently. Carr, not many mistakes. Jameis, the check down game, Jake. Jameis is a big home run guy. If people don't know, he played baseball back in the day. A big home run guy. He wants to go for it all, but he was getting those single base hits, those check down passes, and he was looking clean. So he might look great for a trade candidate at some point, Jake. I know when it comes to the Buccaneers, who knows? Baker Mayfield, Trask. Baker Mayfield, he balled out, got a touchdown on his hand. So people do say don't put too much into the offseason, but at the quarterback position and also for the people who aren't slated starters, this is important time for them. So that was my takeaway, Jake. It was really cool to see some of these quarterback positions do really well, and to see how they panned out. There's some folks, like you mentioned, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, Stroud, Trey Lance. Those are some of the guys who I want to see do better next week. I'll just put it at that. I want to see them do better next week. But Jake, one other person, my honorable mention standout that I want to mention, Zach Charbonnet for the Seattle Seahawks. There's 2 plays, Jake, where he's running through someone's soul. And so the Seahawks got a steal in the draft. Zach Charbonnet, great job this past week in week 1.
So I got to throw some guys out before we get to our our sponsors here. But first off, I wrote him down. Matt Barkley. Okay, the Bills have a backup quarterback, and it's Matt Barkley, and he looked pretty darn good. 172 yards, 2 touchdowns. I thought Anthony Richardson had a weird problem I didn't expect for him to have. And you know what that is? It's not something you normally see with rookie quarterbacks. He's processing too fast. Like, he's going too fast. He's too confident. He's too comfortable. We're not used to seeing that with a rookie quarterback. Look at CJ Stroud. He did not look comfortable at all in that pocket, albeit no one could protect him to save his life. And then Elijah Dotson. I didn't even know who this guy was on the Chargers. He had like deja vu runs back to back. It was like 2 runs to the left sideline, houses them against the Rams. I mean, the Rams defense was abysmal in that game, averaging over 8.4 yards per carry given up. But you got to give Elijah Dotson some credit out of Northern Colorado. He is a UDFA, 24 years old. I'm just saying right now, the Chargers got Austin Eckler out of nowhere. Maybe Elijah Dotson could be something moving forward. I also want to give a shout out to one of our guys, Abanikanda. I thought he had a really nice touchdown run. He's somebody I'm very excited about. But that's what I saw. You know what else I also saw? Well, the ad read that's right in front of me. That was not a well done segment at all, but it's okay. All right, I'm not the best at segues. BetOnline is your number one source, though, for all your betting needs this season. Get the latest lines, odds, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use promo code Bleav for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online where the game starts. And, of course, we have to bring up Underdog Fantasy. We are going to be playing fantasy football with you guys if you want to. Obviously, you have to sign up or we can't play with you. But you can use our promo code Off the Edge today. Link is in the description, whether you're on audio or video. Link is in the description. Users are going to receive a 100% deposit match up to $100 if they use the promo code to sign up. So it's Off the Edge. This can be great. When you're putting in money to either do fantasy football like we're talking about, like the best ball, or you like certain stats and you want to follow a certain game. You could choose the over or under, higher or lower. So it's a lot of fun, and I'm having a blast using it. So I definitely recommend it.
You did well this past weekend, huh?
Trey Lance made me some money with that bizarre touchdown. I'm not complaining.
There you go. And one thing too, I just want to hit on the Trey Lance piece really quick. He may not be shining right now in the 49ers, but I have a feeling, Jake, he's going to go somewhere else. He's going to ball out. He's going to figure it out. I'm going to say the same thing for Russell Wilson. I have a feeling, Jake's watching that Sean Payton team. He took a lot of hits, whatever. But, what do you say? One man's trash is another man's treasure. Not saying that people are that, but I do think that they're going to find some resurgence in their careers. I hope Trey Lance does, Jake, because he's having some type of Ben Simmons thing going on right now, and I'm not liking it.
Yeah, it's very odd. But I'm glad that he started, and I'm glad he got back out there because I'll equate this to Logan Bruss of the LA Rams. Tears his ACL his first preseason game last year as a rookie. And basically what he said after the game is, I just wanted to get back out there. It wasn't really so much performance-based. It was more just trying to, get back out there, remind myself I can do this and be confident. I think a big thing that we forget, as people, is that these football players, obviously you went through it. Although you were blessed, you didn't suffer any serious injury, thank God. But some of these guys do, and it's like, at that point you have to kind of get yourself back into it. I would almost equate it to, I actually, had a tragic passing, someone, in a car accident when I was in high school, and I was so excited to get my license. And when that happened, I kind of took a step back, and I had to wait, a year. And people are like, why won't you test for your license? I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm not comfortable. I'm not ready. And so obviously, like that's out there. It's deep, but like seriously, like those injuries, like they stay in your mind, and it's like you got to be back like when you're ready. And I think, that's kind of, I didn't mean to be like grim on the show, but I think it kind of sets the idea out there. Like it's hard, man. It's a mental weight.
Yeah, sorry to hear that too. That's not easy, and I think people who are listening, they've had someone who's went through that and went through a tough experience. So I'm gonna say sorry to hear that, and kind of going back to your point, it's almost like, Jake, people know this. Let's say someone gets a surgery, or someone hasn't ran in a while or walked in a while, but that first time you go and run, your lungs are toast. So you just think about what it takes to get back in shape in general. So football shape is on another level, and a lot of it is mental. And I hope he can figure that out, and hope he can get over that hump. Maybe he can call, Kevin Durant and say, hey, man, I know you got hurt in the championship game, but you came back and you're still balling out. How'd you get it done? But there's other athletes that he can lean on. Christian McCaffrey, actually take that. That's a great example. Christian, how did you do it? What were some of the things that you did? So I hope he figures that out. But Jake, I know we're talking about different teams today, the AFC North. So we got to show some love to them as well.
Absolutely. So you guys that stuck with us, appreciate you. I understand you guys have been waiting for the AFC North, excuse me. So here it is. Yeah. My AFC North, I'll list mine, you list yours. We'll go through it per usual. Okay. I got number 1, the Bengals. I have them winning the Super Bowl. Spoiler alert. So I've made that very clear in case you guys didn't know. I think the Bengals are the best team in the NFL, and I have them at number 1. Number 2, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Don't bet against Mike Tomlin. Don't bet against Kenny Pickett. I think he's going to have a really good second season. I love the weapons that they added. They're number 2. Number 3, just because they're number 3 doesn't mean I don't have them in the playoffs either. I have all 3 of those teams in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson and company, Odell Beckham Jr., Zay Flowers. I'm excited to see them roll. And then number 4, I have the Cleveland Browns, who I'm not expecting to have a great season. But who do you have, Cam? How's yours 4?
Jake, it's rare, but I had literally the same list there. At first I was like, okay, Ravens, Lamar Jackson, or Steelers. And you just said it. Don't bet against Tomlin. And I think, too, just kind of seeing the preseason and hearing some of the guys talk about the Tomlinisms and, like, the things he says, I'm like, ooh, I don't think we really knew Mike Tomlin like that, or we really know him, but people are really, now that media's here, we're seeing his personality. The pivot, Jake, that's when I really first saw Mike Tomlin and his personality really show through an interview. And I was like, okay, this guy is serious. And then my guy, Quan Alexander, who is now with the Steelers, they scrimmaged the Buccaneers this past weekend. He played for the Buccaneers. We played together, but he's now in the Steelers. We're number 26. And my guy went off, Jake. Like, he was really abusing the Buccaneers running back. So, and just team in general. So I got the Steelers at that position as well, Jake. And then at number 2, and then the Ravens, Lamar Jackson. I know Tyler Huntley. I know he came away with a hamstring injury during the preseason game. And Jake, we always talk about this. The backup quarterback is going to show you what your team is built of, because we did the Bleav in Rams show. We still do the Bleav in Rams show, and we covered their team the whole season last year. And after Matthew Stafford got hurt, go to the 49ers. After Purdy got hurt, things went downhill. So the backup quarterback is extremely important. So I got the Ravens at 3, and then the Browns. Let's see what they can do, Jake. To see what they can do, but they got some boys over there. They gonna play some ball. But
absolutely.
Yeah, I just don't know.
No, I agree with you. I don't think the Browns are going to be great, but I don't think it's because of what people are expecting me to say. Or maybe it is. I don't know. We'll start off. Browns. I'll start off with my sleeper on this team is 100% Jerome Ford out of Cincinnati, 5th-round pick in 2022. Kind of sat behind, Kareem Hunt and one of the best running backs in all of football, Nick Chubb. Well, they like to do that Nick Chubb here and a Kareem Hunt there. Kareem Hunt's gone, okay? And it doesn't look like he's going to be signed back. I know they really like what John Kelly did in preseason. They have Jordan Wilkins. They have Demetric Felton, who also kind of looked pretty good in preseason. But Jerome Ford is my sleeper here, because if Nick Chubb does go down, Jerome Ford was my number 2 running back in that draft. Number 2. I think he's being slept on. I think all of those guys that were drafted from that Cincinnati roster, they're all boys. Let's be honest here. I think people are sleeping on Desmond Ridder. I said that. I think people are sleeping on Jerome Ford. I think Ford has a well-rounded game where they can use him kind of the same way as Kareem Hunt, but I think he could also take on a full workload if Nick Chubb went down. So I'm going to say Jerome Ford is my sleeper here. But looking at the Browns, Cam, I think this is a good roster. So it's kind of weird for me to say I don't think they're going to be very good. I think, the defense all over the place from Myles Garrett, you add Dalvin Tomlinson, you have Zadarius Smith on that team now, Jeremiah Usu, Koromoa, JOK for short, Anthony Walker, Sion Taki, Denzel Ward, guys like that. And then the offensive line is built for tough. They got Wyatt Teller, they got Jack Conklin, Eastic, Batonio, and of course, Jedrick Wills. They're hoping, obviously, he has a better season this year. But then, you have guys like Njoku, who really took that next step that we've been waiting for maybe 2-3 years now. Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, really came on strong last year, his development. They go out and they get Cedric Tillman in the third round, and they have Elijah Moore after the trade with the Jets. And they have the second best running back in the league, in my opinion. But Deshaun Watson is a major question mark for me. I did not like what I saw of Deshaun Watson at all last year. And this isn't just the player off the field. I'm talking about the player on the field. Okay? I'm talking about the player on the field. That's not the Deshaun Watson that the Browns signed. Like, they signed him thinking he was going to be like he was in Houston. Game changer.
Clemson.
What did Dabo Swinney call him? Michael Jordan? That's what they thought they were getting. Now, it was a while since he had played football. Obviously, it was his own fault, but it was a while. He comes back. He looked rusty. He didn't look good in the preseason either that year. Deshaun Watson is going to make or break the Browns. The Browns are basically riding on Deshaun Watson because they have everybody there. But here's the thing. This is the story of the Browns, Cam. We've been saying for the last half decade, and man, the Browns actually look good on paper, but for whatever reason, the quarterback position just doesn't work out. Baker Mayfield started off great, then it crashed and burned, right? It has not worked out.
Johnny Manziel, I watched the special recently. Insane.
It's just like, at the end of the day, it's all about the quarterback with the Browns. Yeah. And it should be with most teams, but I mean, we've been talking about the Browns having a great O-line. We've been talking about the Browns having a great pass rush for a while. Well, here you go.
Yeah.
Now it's time for Deshaun Watson to step up. I don't know if he's going to do it, so I have him at 4.
Yeah. No, I feel you at that. Deshaun Watson, preseason game this year, he did well with his legs, Jake. It made me a little bit nervous, though, the way he was running this preseason. I don't know if it's like, I got something to prove, but his legs are looking great. Some of the passes are okay. We'll see how he does, but he has Dorian Thompson-Robinson from UCLA is one of our guys. Broke a lot of records at UCLA at backing him up, and Josh Dobbs as well. So I feel okay, with the people that are backing him up a little bit. But like you said, he's the guy from Clemson, right? I played against, he played in Georgia, so played football in Georgia, but I played against him when he was at Clemson. He was Mr. Football, Mr. Everything. And so to see the downfall a little bit, it's a little bit concerning. I don't know if it's a Browns thing, Jake, right? Like, I don't know if it's –
they're just cursed.
I don't know. Baker Mayfield. We talk about Johnny Manziel. Like, it was. I'm not gonna lie, Jake. Seeing Johnny Manziel's story and the downfall from what he was doing to where he is now. Not down. He's not down now, but he's not the same Johnny Football that we know. It's just sad to see some of the same things with Brother Watson as well. So, Jake, I'm praying that this year, in the football gods, whoever they are, right, like, hopefully they kind of turn things around for the Browns a little bit at the quarterback position, because the history is not great at all. But what I will say, Jake, is Elijah Moore, my man, was looking good. I know he had a rib injury the preseason game, and I don't want to highlight injuries too much at all, Jake, but the injuries in preseason, they concern me a little bit, because you're going up into week, pretty soon here, kickoff September 7th, and your guys' ribs are hurting. Like, that's leading receiver outside of, everyone else. You got Cedric Tillman, of course, and then, you got some other guys. But that's a little bit Amari Cooper. That's a little bit concerning. So the fact that he got hurt, it's a little bit tough. But
he dealt with injuries with the Jets too. Like that's not anything new, you know. And it's like, that's why I thought the Jets won that trade. I think the guy to look out for with the Browns is definitely Tillman. I think the way Tillman plays, just the physicality, we talked about him, you know, him on Tennessee. You highlighted him on one of our shows. Yeah. Like that guy goes up and he's vice grip for hands. You know, I think he's going to be important on third down. Did not play like a rookie in preseason at all. And David Bell is kind of like an underrated guy that I don't think it's talked about enough. I don't think Anthony Schwartz is going to amount to what they were hoping for. He has a fumbling issue. He fumbled in the first preseason game. He's more of like a gadget guy, I think. But David Bell is somebody to look out for, I would say. But this team, you and I are kind of in the same boat here. Like talent is there, but it all rides on Deshaun Watson essentially.
Yeah, and I'll also shout out my sleeper Isaiah McGuire on the D-line there.
I love that.
As you know, he's one of my guys.
He's one of my guys,
yeah. Your guys, my guy, our guys, Isaiah McGuire.
Oh, man.
He's going to learn from Myles Garrett, and I just love that position for him. I think we were talking about this, Jake, but if he went to the Rams, we covered the Bleav in Rams show. We were like, okay, who are our people if they come to the Rams? What does this look like? And I was like, dude, if Isaiah McGuire comes, he might be able to teach Aaron Donald a little something. Just his pass rush game, he has a lot of tricks in his bag. So the fact that he's going to be with Myles Garrett, body type a little bit more similar, he's going to learn a lot. And maybe he joins Myles Garrett in Halloween and kind of puts the quarterbacks that he sacked on the back of his cape, you know, or in front of his lawn, whatever he wants to do on Tombstone, whatever he wants to do. But I'm glad he is there with the Browns to add to that pass rush at the defensive line.
So we move on to the Ravens. You and I both have them at 3. Obviously, that is not anything against the talent that they possess on that. I mean, they are very talented. Yeah. I really like what they did going out and getting Odell. We talked about that. I really like what they did going out and getting Zay Flowers.
Yeah.
Flowers was my favorite of all like the guys that everyone was talking about. I was like, Flowers is going to translate better than all of them.
Yeah.
And he didn't really get much of an opportunity, but I think the times that we saw him in the preseason, just the route running, he's going to be a problem. He's going to be really hard to stop. Really like him. And, you know, keep in mind, they go out, they trade for Roquan Smith last year. They made him part of the team. Like, he's signed, like, he's good to go long term. They added Trenton Simpson, who's one of the best inside linebackers in this draft, to that already big room. Tavius Robinson, Kyu Blue Kelly in the secondary there. And they got Marcus Williams and Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton. It's like they got all sorts of talent. Rocky Sin. I think the issue with like the Ravens is it all comes down to the quarterback again, and it's going to be Lamar Jackson's health, which at this point in time, I can't sign off that Lamar Jackson's going to play all 17 games. And you had brought up off air, Tyler Huntley's a little bit of a concern right now because of the, you know, he suffered an injury. So, you know, after that, you have Josh Johnson, who, with all due respect to him, he's well-traveled. He's a veteran that I guess he's trying to play for every team in the league. I don't want Josh Johnson starting on my football team in 2023. I don't. You know, then you have Anthony Brown, who's 2022 UDFA. I don't know what happens there, but, you know, for the most part, Gus Edwards is always hurt. J.K. Dobbins has had a hard time staying healthy. Lamar Jackson has had a hard time staying healthy. Odell Beckham, we love him. He's had a hard time staying healthy.
Yeah.
Rashad Bateman can't stay healthy. So there's a lot of question marks here in regards to health, but the talent's fun. And I think I think it puts them in the playoffs. If they stay fully healthy, they're as dangerous as anyone. My sleeper is Isaiah Likely, who unfortunately is kind of banged up right now. He'll be good to go for the season, it looks like. But, you know, I watched the interview. John Harbaugh's like, we expect a lot out of this kid. And that's saying a lot when you think about Mark Andrews already being there. But it goes back to the idea, like, look, we're going to see more and more, Cam, these teams go to more 12 personnel Because 11, it's like everyone's in 11 right now. So obviously these defenses are running more 3-3-5. And I think we're going to see more 12 to combat that 3-3-5 because there's always there's a reaction and then an opposite reaction. And I think we're going to see more 12 personnel groupings. And I think that will put Isaiah Likely on the field more than people are expecting.
Yep. If you have 12 personnel or bigger personnel groups, that means more defensive linemen, right? Body for body at the end of the day. If you got big bodies out there on offense, on the defense, the rule of thumb is you get bigger bodies there as well. Jake, you mentioned your sleeper, my sleeper, Malik Harrison, linebacker number 40 for the Ravens. I watched our preseason game. Jake, this dude's 6'3", 260, flying around. Almost made no sense. I know he came out of Ohio State, but this dude was running around playing good football in the preseason. And depending on, if his future is here at the Ravens, regardless or not, the Rams pick him up. Somebody pick him up because this guy was balling out. I have him as my sleeper. And then you talk about Zay Flowers being one of your favorite wide receivers. So I played with Justin Evans, who's the Eagles safety, number 30. And so I'm looking at Justin, checking him out like, all right, Justin, do your thing here. He's with the Buccaneers, Saints, and then now the Eagles. So I'm like, all right, Justin, let's see what you can do. Preparing for the show. And little do you know, they're in the red zone. He's lined up against Zay Flowers, and there's a red zone play. He kind of beats him to the outside corner, and there's a flag because Justin held him by the hips. But I was like, dude, Justin, if I were you, I would have did the same thing because Zay Flowers, like you said, is an absolute problem. And I know Justin is one of the better athletes that I played with. I mean, my man is super athletic. He was on kickoff with us one time, and he blew past everybody. They were like, all right, dude, you're not on kickoff anymore. You got to start at safety. So his athletic ability is crazy. And so just to know that he had trouble with Zay Flowers as a 3 to 4 year vet in the NFL, after seeing that, I was like, okay, Zay is going to be an absolute problem. Jake was right. He's the guy. And then you talk about Odell Beckham. That's just a business move, Jake. Not just a business move, but to see some of the clips from training camp, kids are lined up just to see this guy. The NFL social media is flooded with Odell Beckham and the Ravens. So it's a big business move, and I think it's a lot of juice that's going to be injected for this Ravens team, and it's great for the trade deadline. It's great for off season. So I got high hopes for this team. Like you said, they might not be number 2 or number 1 in this division, but they're going to cause problems in the NFL, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I think really the big thing that's going to decide those 3 teams and where they line up, obviously those division games, but you look at the Steelers, they've had their way with Lamar Jackson. If they can't beat the Steelers this year with Lamar, they're going to be in 3rd place, and that's fine. But if you want to get that 2nd or even 1st place and win the division, you're going to have to beat the Steelers. You're going to have to beat the Bengals. You're going to have to win those tight games. And I think it really just comes down to Lamar's health and everyone's health for that matter. But you could say injuries for anybody. We move on to the Steelers, though.
Jake, really quick, sorry.
Yes.
I don't want to be disrespectful without I don't want to move on and not talk about Justin Tucker.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer.
It'd be disrespectful to discuss the Ravens and not mention something. The fact that this guy hit a 60-yard field goal in the preseason, like, come on, dude. Like,
he has the record now. Didn't he hit like a 66-yarder like a year or 2 ago? Like,
yeah, like it's just light work, slight work, no worry. No worries. Huntley went down. We got to kick a field goal from farther out because we don't know if we can or punt. Who knows? We got a guy like Tucker, and you mentioned what's going to separate each of these teams. In the NFL, Jake, most games are decided by 2 to 3 points. That's by the special teams players. So the Ravens special teams players, they got Tucker. He's the best to do it. I think they're going to be just fine heading into the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this division's just fun. I mean, if the Browns get Deshaun Watson of old, like, this is going to be the most exciting division we've seen in quite some time. Yeah. So moving on to the Steelers, who I think are going to be really exciting this year.
Yeah.
You got Najee Harris, right? I feel like there are already people out on Najee Harris, like, oh, well, he didn't have a great year last year for my fantasy team. Like, throw that away.
Yeah.
Last year wasn't the best, but they went out, they upgraded the offensive line. You go out, you have James Daniels now, you have Mason Cole, but you add Isaac Seumalo. Dan Moore, you also go out and get Broderick Jones in the first round. They got their guy.
Yeah.
I'm liking what I'm seeing with the Steelers, and it started with the draft. You and I talked about it, but the highway robbery they committed, with the LA Rams, acquiring Allen Robinson, who, let's be honest here, Allen Robinson might have, missed a step. Like, he might have fallen off a little bit, but it's not enough to justify, just getting rid of him for nothing. And that's pretty much what the Rams did. Allen Robinson, to me, is somebody that just really, he kind of went through it. Okay. His best seasons with Blake Bortles, he had 1,400 yards. He's never played with an elite quarterback, and he finally gets to play with Stafford. And the year he plays with Stafford, it's like Stafford's hurt all of camp, doesn't get a chance to build a rapport. Instead, John Wolford's throwing him the football. So when, push comes to shove, Van Jefferson is on the pine to start the season. Now you're not getting that deep threat stretching the field. You have Cooper Kupp, but like all the attention is on Cooper Kupp and Robinson because there's not a third guy really, taking attention away from them. And so I think it was just kind of the perfect storm of everything that can go wrong will go wrong for Allen Robinson. And I understand that's back-to-back disappointing seasons, but you have him, you have Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, and did you see my guy Calvin Austin streaking down the sideline?
Yeah, making it happen.
I mean, that speed, he's going to be like what the Cardinals should be using Rondale Moore for. Because I don't feel like they use him well enough. But Calvin Austin missed all of last year, dealt with injury. He's back. That speed you cannot teach. And the way his ball tracking is just insane. The fourth-round pick from last year, I think, is going to be so important to this wide receiver room. He is going to come out. He's not going to be on every play. He's going to be the fourth receiver, no doubt about it. But it's going to be those big time plays where, he's stretching the field and he's giving Kenny something to throw over the top. And if anybody wants to bite on that, all right, I'll take the underneath route to Deontay Johnson or an Allen Robinson, or I'll throw to Pat Freiermuth or Darnell Washington, who we somehow drafted in the third round after there were rumors he was going to go in the first. The offensive line's improved. Kenny Pickett is getting better. Yeah. We saw in preseason, he looks like an NFL quarterback that doesn't need any more playing time in the preseason. Like, shut him down. Yeah. He looks good. And then the Steelers, what is the Steelers' marquee thing? What is their trademark? It's always their defense, the steel curtain, right?
Yeah.
Look at their defense. They go out and get Keanu Benton, who you and I liked coming out of the draft, second round. That guy is going to translate to the NFL day one. He looked like it anyway in preseason. You got Ogunjobi, you got Cameron Hayward, you got TJ Watt, right? We had a whole long thing about how underrated Cameron Hayward is. So I think we've made that statement.
Yeah.
But I'm just so excited to see this team. And I mean, my sleeper is going to be Allen Robinson. I still think, even though he's a big name, Cam, he's not being talked about enough.
Yeah.
They have Minka Fitzpatrick. They have Patrick Peterson. They're going to be big names on this roster. But Allen Robinson is a 1,200-yard receiver with a good quarterback. I'm not saying Pickett's better than Stafford, but Pickett has had a chance to build a rapport with Allen Robinson, which I think, we as analysts and football fans and just all of us, putting us all in the same bucket, just as humans, don't understand just the level, like, we can say, oh, yeah, you put this guy with this guy and it just works, right? Like, no, it doesn't. Because building a rapport and going through the dirty work in camp, as you know, there's a reason why it's done. There's a reason why it's necessary.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see a huge breakout year for Kenny Pickett and a huge breakout year for Allen Robinson, because he can play off George Pickens, he can play off Deontay Johnson, he can play off Calvin Austin, the tight ends, and vice versa. And I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, Allen Robinson, Penn State guy, he's back in Pennsylvania. That's big in itself, number one. So Allen Robinson, number two. We've talked about the story about how Allen Robinson, when I was at Syracuse, he was at Penn State, was suspended the first half, came back the second half, and just
so silly.
Won the game, because our defensive coordinator didn't account for him. So the respect for Allen Robinson is out the roof. And, unfortunately, he does have a dog across the way from him in George Pickens. Jake, I feel like with Pickens, right? Like ever since he slammed that Georgia Tech player into the wall during the UGA Georgia Tech game, I haven't seen highlights of him since, right? The draft day, he's looking at the screen, looking like a slug from, Men in Black, right? Like one-hit interception in practice, like preseason game this past week.
This guy's everywhere.
Everywhere, dude. The Juke movie had how he set the DB up, where he caught the ball, he turned to the right like he's running to the sideline, and then 1 foot in the ground, touchdown. Like, dude, this guy is looking unbelievable. You talk about Pro Bowl team, sign him up for that. But the Steelers in general, I want to talk about my 2 sleepers, Jake.
You got 2?
I got 2, Jake.
I see you.
Through bias, of course, Quan Alexander, right?
That's fair. Fair.
I'm looking at this starting lineup at the linebacker position, and he's not there. So I know he's pissed, and I can tell by the way he was playing the Buccaneers. Like, dude, he was I was watching on my NFL Plus, on the iPad, and I show my fiance Eric. I'm like, dude, Quan is out here running wild, and she was kind of a little bit further away from me, Jake. So she couldn't really see. And then I would show the clip, and she would see a guy kind of flying across the screen, tumbling on his head. She's like, that has to be Quan. And I was like, yes, it is. But he's a sleeper. A lot of energy he brings to the team. He was at the Jets previously, brought a lot of energy to that team. It was the 49ers before that, brought a lot of energy to that team. So he's a culture setter, and I do think he'll be great for the Steel Curtain. So I'm excited for him. And then Larry Ogunjobi, Jake, I'm going to have to just call him out. He was originally my sleeper if I didn't have a biased one with Quan. But Larry is one of those guys who is just flies under the radar but shows up each day. He's a big guy, Jake, but he's kind of, I won't say built like Aaron Donald, but you see Aaron Donald, the way his muscles stick out. Larry's like that too. I met Larry at a couple of events, and I'm like, dude, are you like a linebacker or a defensive lineman? Like, which one are you? But he works really hard. He plays good ball. He led the league in sacks at the D tackle position. He was like number 7, right, top 10 in sacks. So, and he's learning from Cameron Hayward, Jake. Like that's you can't get any better than that. So I'm loving this group, and Tomlin. You can't bet against them. We talked about this before. We discussed how they're going to rank. The Tomlinisms, the greatness, the people that follow him and speak great about his name, can't even count it. So I love the Steelers as well. I think they're going to do really well in this division.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And you and I both agree on the number 1 team, which is the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'll just have this caveat. This all comes down to, goes back to the quarterback. Joe Burrow is who I'm betting on because, that's the thing is Joe Burrow's already seen what a Super Bowl's like. He went against one of the toughest defensive fronts that you're going to find, dealing with Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd and Von Miller. Just absolutely insane. Ashawn Robinson played his tail off in that game. Does not get enough credit for that. And he was sacked 8 times in that game, 7 times. So, it was a lot, but this guy just kept getting back up, and at the end, say what you will, they had a chance to win.
Yep.
And so he didn't blow anybody away by any stretch, but he has that experience under wraps now, which is great to see for a young quarterback. I don't subscribe to that whole quarterbacks who appear the first time and don't win, never win a Super Bowl again. I don't subscribe to that because the way the Bengals are running their team, everyone has to look at. Okay, yeah. Joe Mixon took less money for the betterment of the team. He wants to be a part of this team long term. He got into some legal issues, but it looks like everything's good now, and he's going to be the guy. And they stuck by him because they didn't draft a running back until the 5th round, and they drafted Chase Brown. They didn't go out and get somebody that's going to be able to take the full workload on. So they believe in him. Jamar Chase. I don't have to talk about him. He just, it's Jamar Chase. T. Higgins. Arguably the best, if not one of the best duos at the wide receiver position. But then you go out and you get a guy named Irv Smith, who's had his issues with injuries, but if he stays healthy, man, he's got talent. It didn't just go away. He still has that. He didn't really get a fair shake in Minnesota because of the injuries. It wasn't like their fault or his fault. It's just some freak stuff happened and, he didn't get a shot. And obviously when you go out and you get TJ Hawkinson, now you don't really need Irv Smith anymore, right? So they move on from Hayden Hurst. They get Irv Smith Jr. I think he's going to be a really good fit for them. I'm excited to see that. Their defense, going out and, getting guys like, Cam Taylor-Britt last year, who, by the way, he's actually my sleeper. I think Cam Taylor-Britt last year, he felt like he could have played better. I know that. But I think this is the year where he's going to kind of come into his own, really take the league in and just be like, I'm going to be a starting guy here. I'm going to be a force to be reckoned with. Guy that can tackle, his athleticism, can make plays on the ball, playmaker, around guys like Daxton Hill, Nick Scott, who they signed, they're excited about, Mike Hilton, Chidobe Awuzie, but also you can't forget about the two rookie DBs that they got that you and I talked about at length. DJ Turner out of Michigan, who I'm very excited about. DJ Turner the second, excuse me, and Jordan Battle out of Alabama, who for whatever reason Alabama safety falls to the third round, and that guy's just like he's like Adrian Amos, like he's plug and play. And they don't need him to necessarily plug and play. That's how deep this team is. They got guys like Logan Wilson signed long-term. He got the bag. Sam Hubbard, B.J. Hill, DJ Reader up front, so you plug in those gaps. Trey Hendrickson's a stud. Jermaine Pratt, I don't think, is getting enough credit by people. He's done a lot in coverage and, leaps and bounds. Way better player than he was when he first entered the league. And I didn't mention their number one overall, their first round pick in Myles Murphy, who I've been saying this guy has he has the toolbox, he has all the talent. He just needs to go to a place that will really be able to utilize that. And man, he could not have gone to a better situation where he doesn't have to play right away, but he can be in that rotation and learn from guys like Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, I mean the Bengals, Jake, you mentioned it. Joe Burrow, he's been to national championships in college and moving forward. So he's a champion through and through. So he's going to find it no matter what. No matter if that calf muscle's hurting Jake or not, he's going to get there. One of the people that I have for my sleeper, Alex Kappa, I play with him at the Buccaneers, so I'm a little bit more biased as well, but he's found a way to stick, Jake. A lot of times you get guys like Alex Kappa who come from schools that, what school is that, but he's sticking, and credit to the Buccaneers, Jake. They find athletes from I won't say the no-name schools, but not the Power 5 schools, to then excel in the NFL. So I got Alex Kappa as my sleeper to protect Joe Burrow because he needs that protection. When he got injured, no one was around him. But, hey, at the end of the day, when the season starts, when there's bullets flying, I want guys like Alex Kappa to be protecting my blind side or whatever side that there is. So I got him as my sleeper there, Jake. And then you talked about it. I did want Nick Scott to be my sleeper, but that'd be like, oh, okay, like you're a Rams homer there. But no, I think Nick Scott, what he brings to the table with Jesse Bates leaving, they're going to need someone to cause some havoc, right? It's to change things up, mix things up. So Nick Scott, he has experience. He's been there before. He's done that before, specifically against the Bengals. So why not bring him on the team, right? If you can't beat him, join him. And so I love Nick Scott as I won't say my second sleeper, but someone to watch out for, and for the Bengals fans that are listening to know that you have a good athlete on your hands and a good person as well. So those are my thoughts on the Bengals, Jake. They got to get past the division, though. The division is – we talk about it, this being exciting. This is an exciting division, but you talk about the Bills, their division as well. They got a lot going on over there too. So they got to get past them, I think, before they can make things happen in the Super Bowl. But it's going to be some fun football with this division.
Absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun football. I mean, AFC North matchups are going to be must-see this year. Yeah. They pretty much always are. They're always a fun, it's always fun rivalry games. I remember last year, it was like Bengals Steelers went to like overtime and someone missed a kick or whatever. And I don't know, did that end up in a tie or like how did that? I think the Steelers won at the end or it was a tie. I don't remember exactly what it was off the top of my head. It was crazy. It was the first game of the year, I believe. But yeah, and that's just what you're getting. I mean, and going back to your special team stuff, Evan McPherson, that guy's got a leg. There's a reason why they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He helped them. He helped them get there.
Yeah.
He had to make some big kicks, and Joe Burrow was not, quiet about that. He let him know it. So
yeah.
I think with this team, it's really all about. It's all about health. I mean, the offensive line is always a question mark as well with the Bengals, but Jonah Williams, Alex Kappa, you mentioned, Ted Karras, who I like Ted Karras. They have Trey Hill, who has experience starting, obviously, in a Super Bowl, whether he should have or not. He did. And then, Orlando Brown Jr., which is their big acquisition at left tackle.
Yeah.
So I think, we didn't mention Tyler Boyd or Chuck Sizzle, Charlie Jones.
Yeah.
But
that's a good guy.
this should be the favorite in my opinion.
Yeah, and Jake, I want to call one thing out, Jake. T. Higgins. I want to address this because I know last year with Damar Hamlin now is doing well in the preseason. He's balling out. He's doing his thing. So I just wanted to call this out. But for T. Higgins, some grace for my man, because we talk about the mental part of the game. Well, coming into the season, I'm sure that's been on his mind. Okay, make sure I don't hit anybody like this because we know what happened with DeMar. So just wanted to send some blessing his way, Jake, some love his way as he prepares for the season, because it's going to be a long one. And hopefully when they do play the Bills, or if they do play the Bills, that it's all love and the fans approach him in the game with some love and respect. That's all I ask here. I just want to drop the mic on that one because it's a lot, man. It's a lot mentally when it comes to this game of football. And here on this show, we had like a full week's full of content talking about it. So I just want to kind of recap and share love with T. Higgins.
No, it was nice. And we're good at that, like bringing it around. We talked about the whole mental health aspect of sports, these football players getting back out there with the injury earlier in the show, and you kind of brought it in. So that was perfect. I just got to say at the end of the day, Cam, anyone that thinks the Bengals don't deserve to be the top team and it should be the Chiefs because they won the Super Bowl and all that, I'll just say this. That was the first time the Chiefs beat Joe Burrow's Bengals. Yeah. That was the first time.
Yeah.
That came down to the wire, which you would expect.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, I'm not counting this team out. I'm really not. I really think Zach Taylor's a hell of a coach, came from a hell of a coach's, his staff and Sean McVay. I think, Callahan's a good OC. Anarumo does not get enough credit. The job he does on the defensive side. They got better. They're a better football team than they were last year. It's another year for the young guys, so Jamar Chase will get better in the offseason, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's crazy.
T. Higgins will get better. Now you have guys like Charlie Jones, who I think as long as he stays healthy, because he tore his labrum, okay? I don't know how that's going to work, but he wants to play through it. He played through it in the preseason game. The big thing here is health, and that's to be said about any team. But I have we both have the Bengals winning this division. It's going to be fun though. Other teams' fans just know we're showing love to the entire division, even the Browns. I mean, let's be honest here. We can say, okay, we don't think they're going to be that good because we're not, we're kind of out on Watson. Watson can prove us wrong.
Yeah.
That's absolutely possible. We're not saying he has no chance, and we're not taking his off the field stuff and making it part of our analysis. We're just saying that the last time we saw Deshaun, he didn't look very good. Okay, I don't feel as comfortable, hedging my bet necessarily on that.
And this is the season too for people that are listening.
So if you're listening to this preview and the Browns are somehow in the Super Bowl or whatever, and you're listening to it now and you're like, gotcha, absolutely, you are right if that happens, but also no one would have predicted that.
All love here. But yeah, man, this has been a great episode though, my guy.
It always is with you, my guy. It always is. So that's going to do it for us. It's been a lot of fun. Guys, definitely be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, review wherever you are consuming this content. Use our promo code OFFTheEdge on Underdog Fantasy to get 100% bonus match on your first deposit. And special happy birthday to Tennessee Titans head coach, Vrabel. So that's going to do it.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys next time. And the next time will be our last preview episode. We'll be doing the NFC North next time. So you know what that means, those Bears fans.
Yeah. And a really quick on Vrabel. Great job of him passing the torch to his his assistant head coach to lead the coaching in the preseason game. First class act. Happy birthday, Coach Vrabel.
Happy birthday, Coach Vrabel. All right. See you guys. Take care.